that just not once but twice. And they're going to report it as his, again, they're going to report it as his first concussion. Make no mistake about it. Denver was headhunting in that game, and they rocked him enough to where he had a concussion.
Oh,
there
yeah,
were several
definitely.
times when he was very slow to get up, and kind of like, wincing, and you could see him on the sidelines, kind of, with the glazed over eyes. I'm sorry, he suffered a concussion. Now, you don't have to call it that, but he did. And now you have another one that you want to officially document as a concussion, which is fine by me. You can doctor it up whatever way you want to. Oh, by the way, his starting left tackle, Michael Orr, also suffered a concussion in the last game. So, I mean, I don't think it's smart, because Michael Orr also has to be cleared by an independent doctor. Why would you risk it now? So there's so many things going on with Carolina. That's why, I kind of let off with this in the beginning. There are so many things going on with Carolina right now. It's better for them to kind of maybe take a step back, breathe a bit, and then say, okay, for the next, after the bye week, for the final 10 games of the season, we're going to rock out and we're just going to see what we can do.
Well, that also brings into, because it's not just Cam Newton. He said recently in a press conference that he needed to get Kelvin Benjamin more looks and more catches, but to me, I really want a Kelvin Benjamin in that draft. Just the size he has. I'm glad we got Michael Thomas. Don't get me wrong. But to me, Kelvin Benjamin was the perfect Marcus Colston replacement. And he's really being underutilized right now in Carolina, especially coming back from his injury. He's finally healthy. That's the main Carolina player that scares me on their offense, because I can't think of a single Saint who can stop him. Nick Fairley, Cam Jordan, maybe Sheldon Rankins is back by then. Maybe they can put up a fight and slow down Cam Newton. But who can we really pick? Even Delvin Breaux, if he's 100% healthy, I don't see him shutting down 100% of the time Benjamin, just because of his size. And that guy scares me. And that's what I worry about Cam playing, because Derek Anderson's arm, I'm not worried about. But Cam Newton has a cannon. And if they just play jump ball with Kelvin Benjamin, that could really hurt our team.
It could, but I think there's only one thing the Saints can do to effect that properly. They have to get pressure on Cam. We're talking about a guy that's been sacked. And when I say 13 times this season, I mean 13 times this season. He's been sacked 13 times, including 8 versus Minnesota. And he's been hit 31 times.
Yeah, it's a lot.
The only person to be hit more times than Cam Newton to this point has been Andrew Luck, and we all understand, especially watching the game, if you watch the early game on Sunday with Jacksonville versus Indianapolis. Indianapolis' offensive line is putrid. It's just abysmal to even watch them, especially when you have a guy like Andrew Luck. Chuck Pagano could possibly get fired because he has one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL, and he can't protect him. So I think Indianapolis is going to end up cleaning house with both Chuck Pagano and the GM. And we're talking, if Indianapolis is going to clean house, then you definitely know, for a guy like Cam Newton to be hit almost that many times, that's a lot of hits to be taken for your MVP quarterback. Again, I just want to make sure I reiterate this, guys. I'm sorry for keep bringing it up. The Carolina Panthers are in trouble. They have a lot going on. There are whispers of Ron Rivera being on the hot seat a year after making it to the Super Bowl. This is a crazy situation going on with Carolina. So, there are whispers that, basically the totality of Ron Rivera is not adding up to the one good year that he had. And people are questioning, it's almost going to be that situation to where, have you taken us as far as you can, but we need somebody else to get us over the hump.
Well, let me just throw this out there. I'm amazed that that's being discussed, and that yet here we sit in New Orleans looking into what is most likely going to be our 4th straight season missing the playoffs, and there's literally zero chance we're not going to be changing head coaches.
I'll say this. Sean Payton was masterful in his execution of media. I want to use the right word in this term. He used the media he used them perfectly. They were his tool. Sean Payton and his crew leaked out a lot of information about him potentially leaving. And the reason why you leak out something like that, when you're coming off a back-to-back 7-9 season, It's because you want to get paid. The result, 5 years, $45 million. That's about as great of a job as you can do. Indianapolis was there for Sean Payton if he wanted it. There were several positions available for Sean Payton had he said yes.
Yeah.
But Sean Payton being Sean Payton, he didn't have plans on going anywhere unless the Saints weren't going to pony up. He's the highest paid coach in football. He makes more than Bill Belichick. We both know who wins more games. So, I mean, Sean Payton masterfully used the media, and they were his tool. And that's the reason why Sean Payton can sit down and coach a team that's possibly going to miss the playoffs for the third straight year. And, the last time the Saints saw the playoffs was 2013. He's been back since then. And, I mean, it's just consecutive years of missing the playoffs. I mean, if you want to count 2012, then you're talking about possibly 3 out of the last 4 years you won't make the playoffs. That's not great. And I've already put enough stats out there about Sean Payton and his coaching ability with Greg Williams versus without Greg Williams. And I refuse to even discuss it anymore, simply to say that Sean Payton isn't going anywhere, so we might as well get used to the status quo. And neither is Mickey Loomis. And I know a lot of you guys are out there saying fire Mickey Loomis, and we had this discussion last week. Yeah, if Mickey Loomis is going nowhere, Tom Benson is on record for saying hiring Mickey Loomis was one of the greatest things he's ever done, one of the smartest moves he ever made. The Saints have a structure in place. It's called Tom Benson and Gail Benson. Right underneath them is a man who rarely ever gets seen or talked about named Dennis Lauscher. And right after him is Mickey Loomis. That's the structure. And right after Mickey Loomis is Sean Payton. They're not going anywhere. Mickey Loomis runs the Pelicans as well. He's not going anywhere.
Well, let's throw this out there, too, because people tend to think that Mickey Loomis is tied to Sean Payton. Mickey Loomis has been with the Saints since 2002 as the general manager. He has been with this team for a very long time. He's not going anywhere.
I'm glad you brought that up because I did have a fan, kind of basically challenge me on the idea that if Mickey Loomis is fired, Sean Payton will quit, which couldn't be more inaccurate. And they tried to bring up the idea that there was once upon a time the Saints trying to put language in the contract that Sean Payton and Mickey Loomis could be tied together. Well, what they're forgetting is, first and foremost, that was Sean Payton's last contract negotiations, not the current one. And secondly, the NFL disallowed it. They wouldn't allow a coach and a GM to be tied together. So the language in the contract had to be changed. So there was no way possible Sean Payton could say, if Mickey Loomis is not here, that means my contract is automatically voided. And also, that was during the time when they were trying to establish everything that was going on with the whole, the structure of the organization. If Mickey Loomis should ever be fired, Sean Payton isn't going to walk out that door because Sean Payton is going to be elevated to president of football operations, whatever you want to call it, but he's going to be the GM and the coach at the same time, and it's going to be official. It won't be a de facto situation. So let's just get this out of our heads that Mickey Loomis is going anywhere. And if he does, that Sean Payton's going to follow him out the door. Sean Payton is going to take that bag, and he wants to be Bill Parcells. He's going to take that bag and run with it.
Let me say this and add to it, because me and you disagree on a lot of things. People probably don't realize that because we agree a lot here on the show. But on Twitter, anybody that's watches, we disagree on a lot. But one thing that I do agree with Brian on is what he's saying right here. And let me throw this little nugget at you. Mickey Loomis's title, starting in 2002, was general manager of the New Orleans Saints. But since Sean Payton and him returned in 2013, his title actually officially changed. His title right now is Executive Vice President and General Manager of the New Orleans Saints. Part of that being because of the Pelicans, but also because he doesn't do as much as he used to as the pure GM. Sean Payton has taken over a lot of that. And I don't think Mickey Loomis is a solid at what he does in terms of finances, contracts, things like that. I think, though, that Sean Payton, I know you think, has taken over a lot of those GM duties, and that's where we're at right now.
I totally agree with that, and I've been, kind of hammering this point home every chance I get. The way the Saints are structured right now, it's really simple. Sean says, I want that guy. He goes to Mickey and he tells him that. Mickey says, let me see if I can make the numbers work. If Mickey Loomis can find a way to make the numbers work, the Saints find that guy.
Mm-hmm.
If he can't, they take their focus and they put it on someone else.
Yep.
That's pretty much the way the Saints are structured right now. And it may or may not be a good system. As we pointed out here on Who Dat Confessional, the biggest thing you can criticize Mickey Loomis for is allowing Sean Payton to be a rich kid with a black card and no limit. And nobody stepping in to be that dad, that uncle, that grandfather figure to kind of step in and be like, Sean, whoa, what are you doing? You just bought a Ferrari. Why do you want to get rid of it and go buy a Lamborghini? If anything, that is I am in solid agreement with you. Somebody needs to be the no guy. If that's supposed to be Jeff Ireland, let it be Jeff Ireland. Although he's fairly new to the situation, and I don't think he has a strong enough voice. But somebody has to be the guy in the room that says no when everybody else says yes. And the Saints don't have that right now. So you're going to see deals like a Jarrett Bird deal. You're going to see deals like, the conflict of Junior Gillette, when Sean really didn't want to give him the money, but Mickey understood if you didn't give him the money when you gave it to him, you'd probably have to owe him a lot more. Maybe Sean was right Sean was wrong on Jarrett Bird, and Sean was right about Junior Gillette. However you want to slice it, it's going to be like that from here on out. For the next 5 years, if Sean wants to hang him up, and believe me, Sean is very, very prideful and very comfortable in his position. He's not going anywhere.
Yeah, I mean, and let's also put it this way, because everybody knows I've had no beef and no qualms pointing out things that I don't agree with what Sean Payton has done. But let's also point this out. Sean Payton's to leave. Who do you replace him with that's able to come in, take the players that we have, and do better? Honestly, I don't think there is a coach out there who could come in and do that. Now, yeah, there might be one who could come in and bring in better talent, maybe in a few years rebuild this team and they become a winner with different players. But if we're talking about who we have right now, especially when it comes to Drew Brees, and I hate to have to admit this because everybody knows I've been calling for Peyton's head for 3 years. There's probably not another coach in the NFL who can possibly lead Drew Brees to a Super Bowl. That's a tough thing to say because Saints fans don't want to think about the prospect that Brees might not play in New Orleans or that Brees' career is coming to an end and yada, yada, yada. But in reality, if there's a coach that can take Drew Brees to the Super Bowl, it has to be Coach Payton because of the chemistry they have in 10 years of working on that playbook. So if we are going to get it back in the team we have now, Payton has to be the one to take us there, and we have to go with the motion of the ocean. We have to just ride the boat and see what happens.
There's only one man that comes to mind that can take the team that the Saints will have constructed, let's say next year, and win with them. And it's going to cost you a lot in order to get him. And that's John Gruden. He's the only coach that's very similar to Sean Payton that will be able to understand the intricacies of the offense and what Drew Brees is good at and what he's not, because John Gruden kind of helped shape the Sean Payton offense. So if there's any man that can do it, it's him. But in order to get John Gruden out of that comfy boot that he's in, you're going to have to pay him at least, and I'm talking starting number, $10 million per year. And, let's be frank about this. John Gruden has to want to do it, because he may not want to do that. Well, he doesn't have to win or lose, and he gets to commentate all day long, and I believe he's making about $6-7 million with ESPN right now. I don't think John Gruden's going anywhere, and if he does, you're going to have to pay him for it. He's the only guy I can think of that could possibly win. I don't think he's going to do it. So I think the Saints, like you said, are going to have to kind of stick this out and go from there.
Yeah, I think they're saying I'm not 100% sure if I like the John Gruden signing simply from a defensive standpoint because he has 0 players to play his style of defense. There's nobody. Maybe you can make the argument for like a Nick Fairley, Sheldon Rankins, Cam Jordan. Maybe. But there's nobody on that team who's qualified to run that defense. Like I said, maybe we can argue over the linemen. Safety sure can't do it. The corners certainly can't. And the linebackers we've already seen can't. So that would be my only thing with that. I do think he could probably manage the offense pretty well. But he would need years to transition that defense.
Absolutely. And there's no better example of that than just this weekend versus the San Diego Chargers. The Saints were getting eaten alive